Most people believe danger comes with a warning. A shout, a threat, a raised fist. But Nietzsche knew the truth: the greatest dangers walk quietly smiling, and if you cannot see them, you will serve them. Today, we will uncover the hidden signs, the silent fingerprints of dangerous people, so you can see the shadow before it strikes. In Nietzsche's eyes, the world is not filled with saints and sinners, but with actors and spectators. Most of humanity wears masks, not to celebrate life as in a festival, but to conceal the hungers that gnaw at their souls. The mask of virtue is the most dangerous disguise a person can wear, for it commands your trust before it commands your caution. To the untrained eye, these people appear noble, generous, selfless. Yet beneath their declarations of morality lies the restless will to power, twisted into forms of control and self-glorification. Nietzsche did not admire the man who boasts of his goodness, for he knew that genuine virtue rarely speaks. He saw the danger in those who must proclaim their morality, for their words are not a mirror of truth, but a veil for their will to dominate. The mask of virtue operates with an elegance that violence cannot match. It disarms the wary, wins the approval of the masses, and cloaks self-interest in the garments of righteousness. It is the priest who speaks of salvation, yet thrives on your guilt. It is the reformer who calls for justice while feeding his own vanity with applause. It is the friend who presents every action as kindness while keeping a careful ledger of what you now owe. Nietzsche recognized that morality, when performed, becomes theater, and theater demands an audience. The more the mask is admired, the tighter it clings to the wearer's face. What begins as a tool becomes a second skin. To see through such a mask requires a discipline of perception. The dangerous man or woman in the mask of virtue will rarely contradict themselves openly. Instead, the cracks appear in moments when their private desires and public image are misaligned. Nietzsche would tell you to listen not only to what they say, but to what they avoid saying. To watch for the tension in their smiles, the sudden narrowing of the eyes when confronted, the hesitation when their supposed values are tested. Their virtue will be loud, but their moments of truth will be silent and fleeting, like shadows crossing a sunlit wall. The moralist who craves admiration cannot live without witnesses. They need you to see their goodness because their goodness does not exist without the reflection you provide. Nietzsche would strip away the illusions and ask, if their moral deeds were unseen, would they still perform them? Or would the well of their generosity run dry without the harvest of praise? The answer to that question reveals whether the virtue you see is born of strength or of hunger. Nietzsche distrusted the collective morality that turns men into herds. The mask of virtue is most effective in such herds, for the crowd delights in being told it is righteous, even as it marches toward ruin. In a herd, the masked individual gains protection, for dissent against them is painted as dissent against goodness itself. Here lies the genius of the mask. It makes the dangerous untouchable by tying their identity to ideals the world treasures. The more sacred the virtue, the less anyone dares to challenge the one who claims it. Those who wear this mask often begin believing in their own performance. At first, they may have been aware of the deception, but as Nietzsche noted, the human mind is skilled at rewriting its own motives. Soon, they are both actor and believer, victim and manipulator. This makes them even more dangerous, for they can betray you while still seeing themselves as the righteous party. They will twist events so that your mistrust is a flaw in your character, your suspicion an insult to the sacred bond they pretend to share with you. In their hands, virtue becomes a weapon that cuts without appearing to wound. To protect yourself from such people, Nietzsche's wisdom demands that you look beyond the appearance of morality and ask what it serves. Does their goodness create independence in others, or dependence? Does their kindness strengthen you, or does it soften you into obedience? Do their moral declarations match their private conduct when no eyes are upon them? These questions pierce the mask. They do not need to be spoken aloud, for the answers will reveal themselves in patterns over time. The mask of virtue cannot be worn perfectly. The heat of life always warps the surface, and for the one who sees, the cracks will gleam like truth through silk. Among the many figures Nietzsche warned us about, the subtle despiser stands apart as a master of invisible warfare. They do not arrive with clenched fists or bared teeth. They approach with the softness of rain, the gentleness of a hand upon your shoulder. And yet their touch carries the cold intent to diminish you. They live in the shadows between words, in the pauses of conversation, in the quiet shaping of how you see yourself. This is no open enemy, for an open enemy demands confrontation. The subtle despiser thrives only when unnoticed. Their weapon is not the sword, but the seed, small doubt planted in the fertile soil of your mind. With time, it grows roots, and before you know it, you have begun to think less of yourself, not knowing the gardener who planted the thought. Nietzsche saw this as the poison of the weak. Those who cannot confront you directly because their strength is insufficient, yet who cannot stand your confidence, your independence, your light. They despise you not for your flaws, but for your virtues. And because they cannot destroy these virtues with force, they attempt to dissolve them with whispers. The subtle despiser will never tell you outright that you are unworthy. Instead, they will cloak their hostility in suggestions, in small corrections, in laughter that feels almost affectionate but leaves a faint sting in your chest. They erode, they do not strike, and so the damage they inflict goes unnoticed until you are no longer the same. The danger of the subtle despiser lies in their apparent harmlessness. They may be a friend, a colleague, a lover, even a family member. Those positions grant them access to your inner life, where their influence is most effective. Nietzsche would have us be vigilant here, for affection can be the perfect disguise for contempt. They will frame their criticisms as concern, their doubts as reason, their envy as practicality. "I'm only telling you this because I care," they will say, but behind the care is the quiet pleasure of seeing you shrink. They will tell you that your ambitions are unrealistic, your talents overrated, your victories exaggerated, all under the guise of protecting you from disappointment. In truth, they are protecting themselves from the discomfort of your growth. Nietzsche's philosophy cuts through this fog with brutal clarity. The subtle despiser's goal is to lower the height of the mountain you stand upon so that they may feel taller without climbing themselves. In the herd, they thrive because the herd prefers equality to excellence, comfort to challenge. The subtle despiser becomes the enforcer of mediocrity, punishing those who rise too far above. But unlike the open critic, they work in half light, so you cannot easily point to their offense. If you accuse them, they will appear wounded, misunderstood, the victim of your imagination. This is part of their art, to make your defense of yourself appear as an attack upon them. To detect such a person, Nietzsche would advise cultivating an ear for the tone beneath the tone. Watch for patterns rather than isolated moments. One comment may mean nothing. A series of them, always pulling you downward, is a language in itself. Notice how you feel after speaking with them. Do you leave with less confidence than you arrived with? Do their words echo in your mind at moments of decision, making you hesitate where once you were certain? These are the footprints of the subtle despiser, and they are as telling as a trail of smoke in a still room. The subtle despiser's genius is that they often make you complicit in your own diminishment. Over time, you may adopt their voice as your own, repeating their doubts until they feel like your thoughts. Nietzsche would call this the triumph of the weak over the strong, a corruption of the will by invisible hands. To resist, you must not only see them clearly, but reclaim your own measure of yourself. The subtle despiser thrives where you depend on the approval of others. They starve where you become the judge of your own worth. Their power ends the moment you can recognize the seed they plant and refuse to water it. Nietzsche understood that not all forms of danger arrive in the shape of an enemy. Sometimes it comes draped in warmth, speaking softly, offering you shelter from the storms of life. The comfort giver is not an obvious threat. In fact, their presence may feel like a blessing. They are the ones who reassure you when you doubt yourself, who promise you that you need not struggle so hard, who make the world feel softer, quieter, easier. Yet, beneath this tenderness lies a quiet ambition to keep you dependent, to make your strength unnecessary, to ensure that your freedom never fully blooms. For when you no longer need them, their hold over you dissolves, and this is something they cannot allow. Nietzsche saw in such figures not kindness, but the art of taming the will. They do not attack your power. They cradle it until it atrophies. The comfort giver thrives by presenting their control as care. They may tell you that they only want to protect you from disappointment, from risk, from pain. They will urge you to rest when you should be striving, to stay where it is safe when you should be venturing into the unknown. In their presence, struggle begins to feel unnecessary, and over time, the fire within you burns lower, the muscles of your will weaken. Nietzsche would see this as a theft of the soul's vitality, for man becomes truly alive only when tested against resistance. Without resistance, there is no growth. Without growth, there is no greatness. Such comfort givers often believe themselves to be virtuous. They see their actions as nurturing, their influence as protective, and in a certain sense, they are not lying, they do protect you. But their protection is like a glass dome. You are shielded from the storm, but you are also cut off from the wind that would shape you into something greater. Nietzsche knew that human beings are not meant to live in perpetual safety. A life without challenge robs the spirit of its edge, dulling the instincts until one becomes incapable of facing the world without a guide. The comfort giver ensures you always need that guide, for they quietly fear the day you realize you can walk without them. Their chain is not made of iron, but of gratitude. You may feel indebted to them for all the times they helped you, for all the moments they stood by you when others did not. This debt becomes a leash, one you may not even recognize. You tell yourself you stay close to them out of loyalty, but the truth is, they have cultivated your reliance. Nietzsche would strip away this sentimentality and ask, does this relationship make you stronger or softer? Do they encourage you to confront life head on, or to hide from it behind the walls they have built around you? The comfort. A giver will always speak of wanting what's best for you, yet what is best for you may be precisely what will break their hold over you. The comfort giver's influence is slow, and that is why it is so effective. They are patient gardeners, pruning away your wild growth, trimming your ambitions until they fit neatly within the boundaries of their protection. They never forbid you from pursuing your dreams outright. Instead, they ask questions that make you doubt, suggest delays that turn into years, offer alternatives that are safer but smaller. You may not even notice that you have stopped reaching beyond what they approve of until one day you realize your life has shrunk to fit the contours of their comfort. Nietzsche would remind you that true love, true friendship, true loyalty, these are not about making life easier, but about making one another greater. Anyone who shields you from all hardship is also shielding you from the path to your highest self. The comfort giver who chains you fears that your greatness will lead you away from them. And so they keep you warm enough never to leave, safe enough never to seek, and comfortable enough never to remember that the open road beyond their embrace is where you were meant to walk. Nietzsche knew that the most treacherous blows are not preceded by the snarl of an enemy, but by the warmth of a friend's embrace. The open adversary announces themselves. They shout, they rage, they make their hostility visible. The dangerous one cloaked in a smile does no such thing. They invite you to lower your defenses, to share your secrets, to entrust them with pieces of yourself that could not be taken by force. Smile before the strike is not merely an expression, it is a strategy. It is the weaponization of familiarity, the careful weaving of trust as a net to catch you at the precise moment you believe you are safest. Nietzsche saw this as a higher form of predation, not the hunt of the beast that charges, but of the serpent that coils itself around you in seeming affection until it tightens. The smile is a language without words, one that communicates warmth, acceptance, even admiration. Yet for the one who wields it with intent, each curve of the lips is calculated. They know that human beings crave belonging, and nothing disarms suspicion faster than a gesture of shared humanity. To be smiled at is to be recognized, to feel as though another sees you and approves. In this approval lies the trap. Once your defenses are lowered, you reveal vulnerabilities you would otherwise guard. The private fears, the ambitions not yet ready for the light, the mistakes buried in silence. Nietzsche warned that to hand such knowledge to the wrong person is to place a dagger into the sheath at their hip, a dagger they will draw when the moment suits them. The smile before the strike often belongs to those who are skilled in reading others. They watch closely, not only to understand you, but to map the points at which you can be swayed, weakened, or undone. They may spend months or years cultivating a bond, never showing a single sign of ill will, waiting until the stakes are high enough that their betrayal will cost you greatly. Nietzsche would call this patience not a virtue, but a form of artistry, the art of concealment, of playing the role so flawlessly that the final act shocks the audience into silence. The most dangerous aspect of this type of person is that even their betrayal may not appear as betrayal. They may harm you under the guise of necessity, of misunderstanding, of being forced by circumstance. They may even smile in the act itself, convincing you that no real harm was meant. Nietzsche understood this as the cruelty that hides itself beneath civility. The wound inflicted without the satisfaction of righteous anger, leaving you confused rather than enraged. For rage is a clear fire, confusion is a fog that lingers, in which you lose your way. To detect the smile before the strike requires a discipline most people avoid, the willingness to question, even those who seem unquestionably on your side. Nietzsche would not counsel paranoia, but he would counsel awareness. To see the patterns in people's actions, more than in their expressions. To measure loyalty by what one risks for you, not by what one says to you. The smile can be rehearsed, sacrifice cannot. Watch whether their presence in your life costs them anything, or whether it is all gain with no burden. Those who intend to strike will avoid the kind of commitment that ties them to your well-being when the time comes to choose between you and themselves. The smile before the strike is effective because it mirrors our own desire to believe in the goodness of others. We want the smile to be real, the bond to be genuine. We feed it with trust, with intimacy, with the lowering of our guard. Nietzsche's challenge was to resist this instinct, to treat trust as something earned continually rather than given once. The one who smiles at you today may be the one who, tomorrow, delivers the blow not in hatred, but in calm indifference, as though it were the most natural thing in the world. And this, perhaps, the deepest cruelty. Not that they harm you with passion, but that they harm you without it. As though you were never more than a stepping stone in their quiet, smiling assent. Nietzsche's warning about danger in people is not the paranoid muttering of a man afraid of the world. It is the sober vision of one who refused to be lulled by appearances, the mask of virtue, the subtle despiser, the comfort giver who chains you, and the smile before the strike. These are not rare creatures hidden in the dark corners of humanity. They walk among us daily, in workplaces, in families, in friendships, sometimes even in the mirror. Their power lies in their ability to pass unnoticed, to dress harm in the garments of goodness, concern, affection, or protection. Nietzsche understood that survival in such a world is not a matter of building walls around yourself, but of sharpening your sight. To recognize these figures is not to become cold or loveless, but to become sovereign over your own trust. It is to give it deliberately, not as a reflex. Nietzsche would remind us that strength is not found in isolation, but in the ability to walk among others without becoming blind to their nature. The man who sees clearly is not the one who fears every shadow, but the one who can stand in sunlight knowing which shadows to watch. The danger in people is not always in their power to harm you. It is in your willingness to let them. And once you have learned to read the masks, the whispers, the comforts, and the smiles, you will no longer be a willing participant in your own undoing. You will stand as Nietzsche envisioned, aware, unafraid, and unwilling to let your life be shaped by hands that smile while they strike.